Today on the newscast, who is Hamas? What does Hamas really want? And why will any ceasefire with this terror organization not last in the long run? Get my take coming up. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. You know, over the past 2.5 weeks, since the war between Israel and Hamas broke out on May 10th, I've heard a lot of commentary on social media, in the mainstream media, of course, here on our Watchman YouTube channel, in the comments section, from people who are saying what is happening right now is disproportionate, meaning there are more dead Palestinians than there are Israelis, and Iron Dome gives Israel an unfair advantage. In essence, folks, what they are saying is there aren't enough dead Jews. That's what it boils down to. Number two, I'm hearing a lot that Hamas, suddenly in 2021, are not terrorists. No, they are now considered freedom fighters. They are fighting for the liberation of the Palestinian people, and the rockets and the terror tunnels, these are necessary means to that end. Newsflash, Gaza has not been occupied by Israel since 2005, when the last Israelis who lived in beautiful communities there in northern Gaza pulled out of the Gaza Strip in the Gaza disengagement. The only occupier right now in Gaza, the only ones who the Palestinian people there need to be liberated from, are their Hamas overlords who rule the Gaza Strip with an iron fist and who came to power in 2007, absolute power, in a bloody power struggle with the Palestinian Authority, where they openly executed Palestinian Authority members in the streets of Gaza. But I think to encapsulate what we are talking about, and again, who Hamas is and what Hamas wants, we have to look at this video from yesterday. Now, it was posted by the Israel Defense Forces on their Twitter account. This is the leader of Hamas in Gaza. His name is Yahya Sinwar. He emerged from hiding over the past few days to hold, I guess you would say, a victory rally of sorts in Gaza. During that rally, as you can see here on the video, he brought a young child, a little boy, up to stage, up to the podium with him. What's this child, folks? Maybe 3, maybe 4, probably more like 3 years old, dressed in full battle fatigues, camo, a flak jacket, and holding an assault rifle, this little child. And Sinwar hoisted him up in the air in front of the adoring crowd and kissed him, and various Hamas members and leaders hugged this little boy. Folks, that is evil. What you just saw on that video is pure, unadulterated evil. Evil exists in these morally relative times in which we are living in 2021. Evil, pure evil, still exists. There are no gray areas when it comes to Hamas. Training little toddlers, putting guns in toddlers' hands and training them and teaching them to kill and to hate is evil. That is who Hamas is. To all those Hamas cheerleaders out there right now, are you proud of those images that we just showed you? Are you proud of the countless images over the decades of in Hamas parades and military rallies, little children dressed in camouflage with bomb belts, imitation bombs, suicide bomb belts around their shoulders and around their chest? This is really happening in Gaza today due to Hamas. Are they still freedom fighters in your eyes? This little kid apparently was the son of a Hamas fighter who was killed, and now he's just going to follow in his father's footsteps and meet a similar end, brainwashed from the cradle to the grave by Hamas. How distressing. You know, I talked to an Israeli friend yesterday who said the same thing. He said it's a bit disheartening. I was in the IDF, I fought against Hamas, and now my son and my friend's sons are joining the IDF, and they will fight against Hamas. It's not going away. And a ceasefire with Hamas only kicks the can down the road. Folks, this is who Hamas is. I think they say a picture says 1,000 words, right? That video we just showed, the images we showed, should tell you all you need to know about this terror organization, this Iranian proxy, but a little more background today so people really know what Israel and the world are up against. Because again, The ceasefire eventually will run out. Hamas will fire rockets again. The Israel Defense Forces believe Hamas has been weakened and weakened severely, but no idea really when Hamas will start things up back again and start firing rockets, not to mention Hamas, but also Palestinian Islamic Jihad, its fellow Iranian proxy in Gaza. Short story, Hamas founded in 1987. I encourage you to check out the Hamas Charter, whatever search engine you use online, folks. Check out the Hamas Charter, written in 1987 when they were founded. It is a very radical document, to say the least, and I'm understating it. Throughout, it talks about jihad and destroying Israel. That is the whole rationale for Hamas's being and existence. Also in this document, Hamas declares itself as the, quote, a Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood movement. Who is the Muslim Brotherhood? Well, they are kind of the granddaddy of them all when it comes to modern Islamic terror movements, founded in Egypt in 1928. This is the organization that in the modern day has kind of been the grandfather, I would say, of Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, and all the terror organizations that we've sadly grown accustomed to. They all came out of, in one way or another, the Muslim Brotherhood movement or the Muslim Brotherhood ideology. Osama bin Laden, Ayman al-Zawahiri, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, former ISIS leader al-Baghdadi, all of them at one time or another were members of the Muslim Brotherhood movement. Again, this is the granddaddy of them all, and Hamas is the self-proclaimed Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. They say so in their charter. Again, just do a search online and you can find it and read the whole thing. It's not a pleasant read, but it may be a necessary read in the times that we are living in. What does the Brotherhood want? The Brotherhood wants to reestablish this caliphate. ISIS tried to do it, obviously, a few years ago. Recep Erdogan in Turkey would love to do it as well. The Brotherhood wants to reestablish this caliphate, this global Islamic state under one supreme ruler or caliph. So that is the ideology, and that's what Hamas is getting at, folks. You wonder why Hamas clearly could care less about Palestinian children who are being killed in these conflicts that Hamas instigates, because Hamas is really, at the end of the day, folks, they're not about the Palestinian people. They're about the larger global international agenda, the caliphate ultimately. This is just a means to the end for them. Israel and the crown jewel, Jerusalem, must be a part of this caliphate. You have the Brotherhood ideology with Hamas. You have the Iranian regime's ideology. The one constant is the destruction of Israel and a hatred of Jews worldwide. Folks, make no mistake about it, and the Hamas Charter lays this out very clearly. It's not just about Israel. Yes, Hamas references the so-called Zionist entity in their charter, meaning Israel. But again and again, it just says Jews. Not Jews in Israel, Jews. Meaning every Jew, in the eyes of Hamas, has a bullseye on their back from Tel Aviv to Texas to Toronto. That is the ideology. Had to lay it out there. By the way, if you're an American like me, guess what? Hamas has American blood on its hands as well. U.S. citizens have been killed by this terror movement. That's a short, condensed version of who Hamas is, what they stand for, and why you should not support them, folks, and why you should not just look past the next time Hamas indiscriminately targets civilians in Israeli cities and towns. Now, folks, I know this is heavy subject matter without a doubt, but here at the Watchman Newscast, we think you'd rather know than not know what is happening, what's really happening in the world's most strategic and chaotic region, the Middle East, and how it affects you. Yes, you. No matter where you live. This is very important information. It's tough to break through all the chatter and the clutter today in the media, but we seek to be your one-stop shop for the truth about all things Middle East. One thing to keep in mind as I go, just some encouragement again on this heavy subject matter we are talking about. The book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 2, talks about a day that is coming. God says through Joel that a day is coming when he will gather all nations down to the valley of Jehoshaphat in Jerusalem. And there, God says, I will judge them for how they treated my people, Israel. Very, very interesting. So it's the valley of judgment, a day of judgment where God Almighty will actually judge the nations for how they treated Israel. Hamas will be there, Hezbollah will be there, the Iranian regime will be there as well, and folks, I don't think it will go very well for them. Hey, thanks for joining us here today on the Watchman Newscast. Until tomorrow, God bless you, and remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, click subscribe, and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications for new Watchman Newscast episodes every weekday.